Shalom, this is Medad Yahu Ben Israel, overseer of Living Branch Worship Center. I've had a lot of requests, and I wanted to make sure I address those requests. I've had individuals ask me, how do I do Pesach or Passover memorial if I'm not with an assembly or congregation? So you might just be you and your family, or it could just be you. So we're going to go through some steps, and hopefully it'll be a good guide for you. So first of all, Pesach or Passover is a memorial. So this video is an example of how to do Passover service memorial for those that are not near a congregation or assembly. Pesach is a memorial of bondage and birth of Yashriel. Keep in mind, this is an example. Not everyone uses the same steps. So you can pray and let the Ruach and the scriptures lead you in putting your Pesach together. So first, I will give you a list of things you will need. Second, I will walk you through the steps I use for Pesach memorial. Lastly, we will review. So Pesach is a memorial. Just want you to before we get into the steps, just know that it's a memorial and what it means. So when you look at Exodus 12, verse 14, and this day shall be unto you a memorial, and you shall keep it a feast to Yahuwah through your generations, and ye shall keep it a feast by an ordinance forever. So the root word there, which is the Hebrew 2142, means to remember, to mark. So you want to make sure that this is a memorable thing, because it's not my Pesach or my Passover. It's Yahuwah or the Father's Passover. So when is it? Pesach is between the evenings right before unleavened bread. So you can find that in Exodus chapter 12, verse 6. And you shall keep it up until the 14th day of the same month, and the whole assembly of the congregation of Yashriel shall kill it in the evening. It's talking about the lamb that was taken on the 10th day. Okay, and look at Leviticus chapter 23, verse 5. In the 14th day of the first month at eve is Yahuwah's Pesach or Passover. Now here are some things you will need. This is not an all-inclusive list, but just some basic things that will be needed to use in the example that we're going to give. So the roasted lamb, that's Exodus chapter 12, verse 8 through 9. Unleavened bread, Exodus chapter 12, verse 8. Parsley, which is we're going to use as hyssop. And the sea salt water, Exodus chapter 12, verse 7 and verse 22. Sea salt in water, Exodus chapter 12, verse 7 and verse 22. Bitter herb. We're going to use for bitter herb the horseradish root, Exodus chapter 12, verse 8. Kosher grape juice. And depending on how many you have in your family, or if you're an individual, a tub and towel for the foot washing after the meal. Okay, here are the 5 steps I've listed. Step 1, you want to read Exodus chapter 12 in its entirety. Step 2, the striking of the doorposts, which will be the parsley, which is we're going to use for hyssop, and the sea salt water. You can put that in a small bowl, of course. Step 3, the Passover in remembrance of the Messiah. So we're going to there be eating the unleavened bread and drinking of the fruit of the vine. Then step 4, I have a 4A and 4B, because I want to always have everyone eat the bitter herb together, just to make sure that everybody tastes that bitterness, the bitterness of sin. So step 4A, we eat together the bitter herb. And step 4B is the Passover meal, the roasted lamb, the unleavened bread, and other food items. Then lastly, step 5, the foot washing after the meal. So in step 1, the reading, I kind of want to break down. I'm not going to get into detail. We'll do that in another study. Exodus chapter 12, verse 1 through 51, that we're going to be reading. You want to read it in its entirety. And this is just to give you an idea, kind of the breakdown. Verse 1 through 14 describes when, where, why, and how. Verses 21 through 28 shows a picture of having life from death, sparing of the lives that those through obedience are in the Father's house. Verses 29 through 36, the birth of the firstborn of Yahuwah. Verses 48 through 51, the birth experience is linked to circumcision. So step 2. So what you want to do is, you want to have a bowl and put some sea salt in it, in the water, and have parsley. And so what we're going to do, we're going to dip the parsley into the sea salt water. Keep in mind, the sea salt waters are just a representation of the blood, because when blood coagulates, you know that your blood has a huge percentage of water and has a huge percentage of salt. So these are just memorials to remind us of what happened in Egypt. So the doorpost is a picture of our hearts, which must be circumcised. Remember, the Father wants your heart. If Yahuwah has your heart, you have life. The parsley in the water with the sea salt, and the hyssop, which is the parsley, is to represent this concept in Exodus chapter 12, verse 7 and 22. So let's just read it. Verse 7, and they shall take of the blood and strike on the 2 side posts and on the upper doorposts of the houses, wherein they shall eat it. Verse 22, and ye shall take a bunch of hyssop, so that's the parsley, and dip it in the blood that is in the basin, and strike the lintel and the 2 side posts with the blood that is in the basin. None of you shall go out at the door of his house until morning. Now, I've seen it done a couple of ways. Sometimes they just dip the parsley in the water and they strike, just represent and strike the 2 doorposts and then the upper doorpost, which is the lintel. And then some people just do that, and I've seen other people strike it and then eat the parsley. Okay, so that's up to you. I don't go either way with that, because remember, this is just a memorial. It's a memorial to remind us of the event of us coming out of Egypt. Okay, step 3. Now, since the Messiah is our Pesach or Passover lamb, this is the portion in memory of Messiah Yahusha. So what I typically do, Passover is in memory of the Messiah. The eating of the bread is his body, and the fruit of the vine is his blood. Now, keep in mind, the fruit of the vine should be a kosher grape juice, unfermented, because all leaven has to be out of the house for unleavened bread. So unleavened bread starts when the sun set. So it's right after Passover. And keep in mind what John said to keep this in perspective, who this Passover lamb is. So let's go to John or Yehukanan chapter 1, verse 29. The next day, Yohanan seeth Yahusha coming unto him, and saith, Behold the Lamb of Elohim, which taketh away the sins of the world. Then go to verse 36. And looking upon Yahusha as he walked, he saith, Behold the Lamb of Elohim. So what I would do for step 3, I would read Mark chapter 14, verse 22 to 25. Then I would have everyone, after the bread is broken, I would bless the bread. If you're a family, if you're just an individual, bless it yourself. Take it and eat it, knowing that that's his body. Then take the cup, which is the fruit of the vine, which is his blood, drink that all together. Or if you're by yourself, drink it individually. Just drink it yourself, remembering that this is his blood. And like it says in verse 24, and he said unto them, this is my blood of the renewed covenant, which was shed for many. Verily I say unto you, verse 25, I will drink no more of the fruit of the vine until that day that I drink it new in the kingdom of Elohim. So there again, if your family, break the unleavened bread, give to everybody, all of you eat together, knowing that this is his body that was broken for you. And then everyone take a cup of the kosher grape juice, unfermented, and drink it together. Or if you're an individual, just drink it, knowing that this is his blood, that this is his blood of the renewed covenant that was shed for many. Okay, step 4. Now, step 4, let's read Exodus chapter 12, verse 8. And they shall eat the flesh in that night, roasted with fire and unleavened bread with bitter herb. They shall eat it. So I just went, marai is the Hebrew word. It just means to tickle. So believe me, when you eat this horseradish root, it will tickle you. It is definitely hot. So some people avoid it, but that's why I do it before we eat the meal, and then have some with the meal also, just to make sure you get the full effect of what this bitter herb is all about. And again, like I said, this is a memorial, so a lot of these things are representative of what the Mashiach did, and also what happened in Egypt, because there was bitterness in Egypt, and there's a bitterness to sin. Okay, so next we're going to have the Pesach Passover meal. Now, of course, you want to have the roasted lamb. Make sure that the lamb is not cooked in water, but make sure it's roasted. When I say cooked in water, it's sodden. So go back to the instructions in chapter 12 of Exodus, and you will see what the instructions are, how it's supposed to be. It's supposed to be roasted lamb. You want to make sure you have unleavened bread. So make sure your bread doesn't have yeast in it, or any baking powder, baking soda, any leavening agents. Okay, then you have the, again, you can eat this with your meal, the bitter herb, the horseradish root. Then whatsoever else you want to have with your meal, it should be in good taste in accordance to Leviticus 11. Now, this is me saying this. This is just how I teach my congregation. The meal should not be a buffet where people are overeating. And I kind of based that on Exodus chapter 12, verse 11. And thus shall you eat it with your loins girded, your shoes on your feet, and your staff in your hand. And you shall eat it in haste. It is Yahuwah's Passover. So when they ate their Passover, they knew they had to be ready to go. They had to be ready to come out of Mitzrayim, or Egypt. So, for us, we want to make this memorial as true as possible. So I'm not saying you can't have other items, food items, but I've seen where people just indulge and overeat, when that is not what this is all about. We want to keep the concept that this is Yahuwah's Passover, and we're doing this to remember that the Mashiach is the Passover lamb that was slain for us all. But again, that is how I teach my congregation. Other mores, or for your family, let the Ruach lead you, as the Ruach HaKodesh leads you in this. Okay, finally we have the foot washing. Okay, got a couple of suggested readings before the foot washing. Luke chapter 7, verse 36 through 50. Then also Matthew chapter 26, verse 6 through 13. The key verse there is verse 13. And I just want to read that verse because I want to make sure you hold true to what the Messiah asked us to do. Verily I say unto you, wheresoever this good news shall be preached in the whole world, there shall also this, that this woman has done, be told for a memorial of her. So we're instructed by the Mashiach to give a memorial for the woman that's in chapter 26 of Matthew, verse 6 through 13. She prepared him. Now, let's go to, the last reading should be St. John or Yehukanan, chapter 13, verse 1 through 17. Okay, quick review. So it's not that hard. There's, don't worry about making mistakes. And as far as the foot washing for if you're an individual by yourself, there's, in keeping true, you have nobody else. So I would suggest that, you wash your own feet and dry your own feet if you don't have someone that you can switch out and do it with. Okay. Because at some point, the Father will send someone your way where you'll be able to fellowship, and you might, you won't have to do this alone. So, to keep it in the memorial as far as practicing, I would still do it. That's just my suggestion. Okay, step 1, let's go over these again, is to read Exodus chapter 12 in its entirety. Step 2 is striking the doorposts with the parsley or hyssop and the sea salt water. Step 3 is the Passover in remembrance of the Messiah. That's where you're eating his body and drinking his blood, which is eating his body is the unleavened bread, and the drinking of his blood is drinking the fruit of the vine, which is kosher grape juice. Okay, earned from it. Then the bitter herb eating, that's step 4A. Then step 4B is the Passover meal, the roasted lamb and the unleavened bread. And finally, you have step 5, the foot washing after the meal. Now, see, that wasn't so difficult after all. I pray that you have a wonderful Pesach, and the Father blesses you richly for just the memory. I mean, I can feel the Father's anointing on me already, even though Pesach is not here. Just talking about it just brings a joy up in my spirit. So if you do have questions, you can email me at info@living-branch.org or email me directly at midadyahoo@gmail.com. Or you can call 804-588-9808. So whatever mode of contact you choose, I will try to get back with you as soon as possible. So may Yahuwah bless you. May Yahuwah just cause his face to shine on you. And may Yahuwah be gracious to you. And may he put his name on you and bless you during these upcoming feast days. Shalom, shalom.